Okay.
Right, got it. Okay, so first of all, to everyone with us on Zoom, both in Joburg, Victoria, Durban, Cape Town, where else? Vereeniging, halfway to Vereeniging, John, all over the world, Limpopo, and those from overseas. Welcome, Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. It's a very special Chag Sameach, and as you know, it's Shavuot, where we celebrate getting the Torah, the Ten Commandments from Moses. Also, Professor David Bilchitz, I hope he'll be joining us because he confirmed with me this morning that he was. He may just be a few minutes late.
He's joined.
Is he coming in? Good. Otherwise, Marion and I would have had to get Rabbi Guest to after a panic attack to take over. Jacob, thank you for that, David. We're so pleased to see you. I see you from your Suffolk account, but let me just introduce you. Professor David.
Right, just wait a second, Reba. I need 2 minutes before we start. Thank you.
Can I introduce you in that 2 minutes?
Okay, yeah, you can do that.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Professor David Bilchitz is an extraordinary South African and an extraordinary Jew. He actually studied, I think, as Lael did, with an incredible rabbi, and he had to choose between the rabbinate and law, and he chose law, and Lael chose in a way to go into politics in a different way. And David today is renowned throughout the world as not only one who truly understands the heart of our incredible Constitution, but understands what our enfolding or unfolding democracy really needs. And he has gone beyond anyone, and this is why he is renowned throughout the world. Not only does he, in the name of our Torah, our South African Constitution and democracy, defend the rights and the human dignity of every individual, irrespective of their background, their religion, their race, their creed. We know all about that, and especially irrespective of their economic status, because we all deserve protection. He goes further. He goes further in now writing the book on protecting the dignity and the safety of God's other creatures, that is the animal and the natural world. So he is extraordinary. For 10 years, he led our shul when we didn't have a rabbi, and then we lost him to, I think, the wider world and traveling and doing other things with other shuls and Beit Emmanuel. But David, this is always your home because you are inspiration. You set the path on which Temple Israel and Temple Israel Heritage Center, only founded recently, a few years ago, you set that path for all of us. So welcome back to your spiritual, ethical, and religious home in South Africa, Temple Israel Hillbrow.
Thank you so much, Reba. Thanks for the beautiful introduction. As always, it's lovely to be with you all, and looking forward to a lovely Shabbat service, the Shabbat just before Shavuot. To commence us with the Shabbat, let us go to one of our pre-songs. I know the community likes singing Himnei Matov, so we can put that up. I know Jacob usually does this, so I'm going to leave it in Jacob's good hands. There we go. Great. Himnei Matov, there we go. And let's continue ourselves and sing it together. We know that we do one verse with Achim, brothers, and one verse with sisters, Achiot, and one just all of us, whoever we are, together, Kulanu. Okay? That word Achim is substituted by Achayot or Kulanu. Great. So let's go. Many of you will know this, so join in. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחיות גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחיות גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחיות גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחיות גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת כולנו גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת כולנו גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת כולנו גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת כולנו גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יא נה 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 נה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יא נה 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 נה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחיות גם יחד. And with that, we're going to light the candles. Reva, I see you've got candles behind you, if anyone else wants to, but Reva's going to light it on behalf of the community, and then we'll go into Kabbalat Shabbat. Are you muted, Reba?
Sorry. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzibanu lahadlik nil shel Shabbat. And do we add for this?
No, not yet.
It's not yet.
Just
The
Shabbat.
nil shel Shabbat. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat. Amen.
Amen. Fantastic. Thank you, Reva. With the light of Shabbat, we go into our Kabbalat Shabbat as we kind of let go of the week. I don't know if others have had that, but I've had a busy week, and I can imagine many of you have, or a week, that is certainly filled with other things other than just calm relaxation and allowing us getting to the space of Shabbat and enjoying each other's company. So let's move into a quieter space, a space of reflection as we go through these various psalms. And we've got some nigunim tunes which we'll sing together, which you're all familiar with by this time. Lehuneranana lahadonai naharia letzur yishenu nakad mafanav betoda bizamirot naria loki el gadol adonai melech gadol al kol elohim asher biyado mechkre aretz v'toafot harim lo asher lo hayam v'hu asahu v'yabeshet yadav yatsaru bo nishtachave v'nichra'a nivracha lifnei Adonai Osenu כי הוא אלוהינו ואנחנו אמריתו וצאן ידו היומים בקולו תשמעו תשמעו. And we go to Psalm 96 on the facing page. Sing to God a new song. Let's sing. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai baruch shmo. Basru miyom liyom Yeshuato sapru v'goyim kevodo b'chol ha'amim nifleotav ki gadol Adonai u'mehulal meyod norahu al kol Elohim ay ki kol Elohe amim elilim ואדוני שמיים עשה הוד והדר לפניו עוז ותפארת במקדשו ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ ירם הים ומלואו יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו אז ירננו כל עצי יער לפני אדוני כי היווה לשפוט הארץ ישפוט תבל בצדק ועמים באמונתו ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי 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 nine. And Psalm 97, we go to the top of the next page. We'll say it together in English. Okay, the eternal one is sovereign. On the left-hand side, let the earth exult, the many islands rejoice. Dense clouds are around God. Righteousness and justice are the base of God's throne. Oh, you who love God, hate evil. God, guard the lives of your loyal ones, saving them from the hand of the wicked. Light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. Oh, you righteous, rejoice in the eternal and acclaim God's holy name. And we sing nextly, sing to God another new song. Mizmor shiru ladonai shir chadash ki niplau tasau shialo yamino uzrokocho ay 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 oti adonai shu atolin egoim gilesikato zachar tov emunazo leve et Yisrael ra'u chol afsiyah haretz et Yeshuat Eloheinu hariu ladonai kol haaretz Pitzchu v'ranenu v'zameru zamru ladonai bechino bechino v'kol zimra v'chatzos rod v'kol shofar hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai yiram hayam u'melo tevel v'yoshveva neharot imcha uchaf yachad harim yiranenu lifnei Adonai ki lishpot haaretz yishpot tevel b'tzedek v'amim b'mei shaharim. And Psalm 99 on the next page. Adonai malach yirgazu amihim yoshev keruvim tanot haaretz. Adonai b'tzion gadol v'ramhu al kol ha'amihim yodu shimcha gadol v'nora kadosh hu v'oz melech mishpat ha'evata konanta meisharim mishpat tutzedaka b'Yakov atasita romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lahadom raglav kadosh hu romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lahar kodsho Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Mizmor leDavid, havul Adonai bnei Elim, havul Adonai kavod va'oz, havul Adonai kavod shemo ishtachavul Adonai b'hadrat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim al kavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shober arazim, vayeshaber Adonai et arzei halevanon, vayarkideim kemo egel levanon, v'siron kemo ben reimim, Kol Adonai chotzav lavodesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yechol elot. Vayechesov Yaharot Vehechalo Kilo Omer Kavod Ay Adonai Lamabu Yashav Yeshev Adonai Melech Leolam Adonai Oz Le'amo Yitein Adonai Yevarech et Amo Vashalom Nine So we're just on the cusp of Lecha Dodi as we move from our week into moving this transitional song, which moves us into the space of the Shabbat. I think at this point, it's an opportunity just to reflect on our week a little bit back and take a few quiet moments, and we'll join quietly with Lecha Dodi. I'll lead you after that small reflection on our week. So let's just close our eyes. If you want, you can kind of take a nice spinal stretch, tall, and put your spine out nicely and stretch it down with your hands behind your back, and just bring gently your hands in front of you, sitting up tall, allowing your mind just to wander a little bit about the week and what you want to let go and what you'd like to hold with you. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. 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 שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. לך דודי דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התנערי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפתח עמי, על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי, קרבה אל נפשי גאלה. לך דודי דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התנערי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפתח עמי, על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי, קרבה על נפשי גאלה. לך דודי דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי, שדברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, ינה, פני שבת נקבלה. איי, לא תבושי ולא תקלמני, מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי, בך יחסו עניי עמי, ונבנתה העיר אל תילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, ינה, בני שבת קבלה. איי, והיו למשיסה השוסייך, ורחקו קום עלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כי משוש חתן על כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, ינה, ושבת נקבלה. איי, ימין ושמאל תפארתי, ואת אדוני תעריצי, על יד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, ינה, ושבת נקבלה. איי, turn to face the door, boi v'shalom, ateret pala, gam b'simcha ha'utzoch ola, ha'toch emuneh, yam segula, boi chala, boi chala, lecha dodi likra kala, yena, b'nei Shabbat, dekavela, ay, lecha dodi likra kala, yena, b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. Okay, and we go to the song of the Sabbath, Mizmor Shir, leyom ha-Shabbat, tov lehodot la-Adonai, ulezamner l'shimcha elyon, lehagi baboker chastecha, ve'emunatecha balelot, alei asor ve'alei na'avel, alei higayon bechinor, Mizmor Shir, leyom ha-Shabbat, tov lehodot la-Adonai, ולזמר לשמך עליון, כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, ומעשה ידיך ארנן, מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד דמקו מחשבותיך, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, איש פער לא ידע, וכסיל לא יבין את זאת. Sadikata habar yivrach, ki yeres valvanon yiske yeshetolim, beveit Adonai, bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu, od yenuvun beseiva, shenim verananim yiyule, ki yashar Adonai tzuri velo avlata bo. And so Psalm 93, the end of Kabbalat Shabbat, we say together, Adonai malach geut lavesh Adonai ozi tazar, aftikon tevel ba'altimot, nachon kisacha me'az me'olam ata, nasu neharot Adonai, nasu neharot kolam, yisu neharot doch yam, mikolot mayim rabim, adirim mishparehiyam, mikolot mayim rabim, adirim mishparehiyam, nay, adi bamarom papairai, adi bamarom panairai, adi bamarom Adonai, adi bamarom padairai, adi bamarom padairai, adi bamarom aido ishem aido techanem numod lebeit chana v'koidesh Adonai leorech yamim. Okay, and yes, we usually do Shalom Aleichem at this point. So let's all sing together. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharit, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi melech malachei hamelachim hakadosh baruch hu, baruchuni l'shalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamelachim hakadosh baruch hu, tzeitachem l'shalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamelachim hakadosh Maruch. Okay, how are we doing with numbers? We've got 17 people, so we should be fine for a minyan. So nice turnout. Welcome everyone. Some people joined us in a little while. Also, I believe we have a birthday boy in the house who's busy managing the the accessibility to the text. So happy birthday, Jacob. Yeah, more there. Someone, a person who just gives so much to this community and the shul. So happy birthday and a wonderful year ahead, Jacob. So let us stand up, and we're going to go into the Ma'ariv service now, the evening service, and we're going to say the Chatzi Kaddish, the Kaddish for in between. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'alma livrach yibutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayei chonu v'yomei chonu v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'aga'ala u'vizman ka'ari v'imaru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah u'vorach le'olam nolmei olmaya yitbarach yiparach v'ishtabach v'yipar v'yitromnam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kodesh abrichu leila v'kol b'chata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata mihiran v'alma v'yihimeru. Amen. Nai, 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 nai. Nine, 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 nine. Baruch hu et Adonai ha'mevorach ha'mevorach. Baruch Adonai ha'mevorach. Leolam, leolam v'hayed. Nine, 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 nine. And so you could be seated again, and we now go into the psalm or the blessing before the Shema about the evenings. Baruch, you can read the beautiful English words. I'll read it in Hebrew. You can read in English if you like while I'm reading. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv haravim, b'chokhmah potech sharim, uvitvuna meshane etim, umachalif et hazmanim, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומעביר לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו. חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני. המעריב, ערבים. And here we got this, the blessing for Israel. We'll sing this together. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael, ahamcha ahavcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochveinu v'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki heim chayehinu, V'yorech ya'ameinu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla, v'avatcha al tasir, mimenu le'olamim, v'haruch ata Adonai, ohev et amo Yisrael, ohev et amo Yisrael. So we come to the Shema. You can cover your eyes with your hand, and we say the first verse out loud, and the other one is a little bit softer, and proclaiming the unity of God. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'ahavtaha et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol modecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'shochbecha u'b'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letozafot bein einecha u'ktabtam al mezuzot beitecha Uvisharecha. And the bottom of the next page, Leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kadoshim leElohechem ani hi Adonai Elohechem asher hotziti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. אמת ואמונה כל זאת וקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואין זולתו, ואנחנו ישראל עמו. And so this is our pre-prayer before Micha Mocha. פודנו מיד מלכים, מלכנו הגואלנו מבכף כל הארצים, העושה גדולות עד אין חקר ונפלאות עד אין מספר, השם נפשנו בחיים ולא נתן לנו למות רגלינו, העושה לנו ניסים ובפרעה אותות ומופתים באדמת פניך, ויוצא את עמו ישראל מתוכם לחירות עולם, וראו בניו גבורתו שבחו והודו לשמו, ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם, משה ומרים ובני ישראל לחנו שירה, בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, מלכותך ראו בניך בוקי הים, לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי בד אדוני את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני Ga'al Yisrael, the Redeemer of Israel. And we're now coming to that prayer for peace, for God to kind of protect us in peace and to let us lie down in peace, and spreading the sukkah of peace over all the people, Israel, Jerusalem, and over the whole world. And how much does that mean something now at the moment in our world where there's a terrible war going on, where there's so much conflict in Jerusalem, we know at the moment, terrible scenes last week of racism and bigotry, and the importance of spreading peace rather than hatred and war. Hashkivenu, say with me, Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'ha'amaydenu malkeinu l'chaim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, v'taknenu be'etz hatova mipanecha, v'hoshienu l'man shmecha, v'hagein ba'adenu, v'aser me'aleinu, oyev dever v'cherev v'ravi yagon, v'archek mimenu avon v'afesha, uv'tzel kanafecha tastirenu, ki el shomrenu umatzilenu ata, ki el melech hanun v'rachum ata. Ushmo tzeitenu v'oenu l'chaim u'shlom me'ata v'yad olam. Baruch ata Adonai al-porei sukat shalom aleinu, al kol amo Yisrael, al Yerushalayim ve'al kol ha'olam. Blessed are you, Eternal One, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, over Jerusalem, and over the whole world. We turn to the next page, and V'shamru v'nei Yisrael etta Shabbat lasot etta Shabbat lidor tamarit olam v'ni uvein b'nei Yisrael otite yolam V'shamru v'nei Yisrael etta Shabbat lasot etta Shabbat lidor tamarit olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai asa Hashem et hashamayim v'yeta haaretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael etta Shabbat lasot etta Shabbat lidor tamarit olam uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash v'shamru v'nei Yisrael etta Shabbat lasot etta Shabbat lidor tamarit olam. Wonderful. And so we move into the Amidah, and everyone please stand up. And we'll say part of it together. And then I think I'm going to, at the third blessing, we're going to have an opportunity to just say it quietly to ourselves. And we'll join together. You can meditate. You can do what you like doing in terms of thinking, meditation, communing. And then we'll join together again for Oseh Shalom. Adonai, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם ואלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסד, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי המתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות. ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמנת להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. אתה קידשת את יום השביעי לשמך, תכלית מעשה שמיים וארץ וברכתו מכל הימים וקידשתו מכל הזמנים, וכן כתוב בתורתך, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו רצה מנוחתנו קדשנו מצוותיך ותפוקנו בתורתך, שבינו מטובך ושמחנו בישועתך, ותהה ליבנו לעובדך באמת, והנחילנו אדוני להבא ברצון שבת קודשך וינוח וישע מקדש שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל ותפילתם באהבה תקבל ברצון אותי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך, אל קרוב לכל קרב פני אל עבדיך וכוננו, שפוך אורך עלינו ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון ברחמים, ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון. מודים אנחנו לך שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ולאלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו לעד צור חיינו מגן אישנו אתה הוא לדור ודור נלך צבאתך על חיינו ומשמרתך ועל משפטינו לפקודות לך ועל נשיאך שכל לבנו ועל נפלותיך וטובתך שבכל עת עבר ובוקר וצהריים כי לא חלו רחמיך ועמכם כי לא תגמול חסדיך מעולם קיווינו לך ועל כולם יתברך ויקרומם שמך מלכנו תמיד לעולם ועד בכל החיים ותחסר לבלי את שמך באמת אשרתנו בעזרתנו סלע ברוך אתה אדוני הטוב שמך ולך נאה להודות. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשיג לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשיג לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל ואת כל השלום בשלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. לא היינו שלנו על זכותם ולבם ממך שיבוא Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol ha'olam, imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu, ve'al kol ha'olam. Ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu, ve'al kol ha'olam. Ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu, ve'al kol ha'olam. Ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu v'al kol ha'olam. Ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu v'al kol ha'olam ve'imru amen. Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm sorry I misled you slightly. I saw that it would not work to just stop at blessing 3, because with not everyone has the text, so you can't just pray yourself to the text. So I did lead you through that, which I know you also used to. So apologies for slightly misleading you there, but I'm sure you followed me as well. I went slightly fast in some sections because we didn't, as I said, I had promised you to have your own time for reflection, but we did have a little bit of time there. And now we're going to have a prayer for the sick and for healing. And so I invite Reva or Jacob or whoever, Marion, whoever is reading out the list, and anyone who wants to add to that list. But first, the list from the congregation.
Thank you, Marion.
Thank you, David. This evening we are praying for the healing of Maria Atkinson, Michael and Fab Cohen, Ray Blecher, Anna and Philip Aviv, Elaine Katz, Elaine Dragsund, Gwen Griffiths, Melvin Stern, Lawrence Foreman, Victor Reitzek, Peter Joffe, Doris Krinsky, Kay Delazalia, Delaire, and Jean Aldwin. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I invite anyone else to add a name? Okay, no one else. You can unmute if you want. Otherwise, we think about all those who we wish to have healing. I have a friend, I'm not sure if she would want to be added, so I'm just going to think of her. And those of you also who wouldn't want publicly, you can also think of those people who you know who are not well. Mi shehibehirach ha'avoteinu Makor habracha li'imoteinu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shehibehirach imoteinu Makor habracha lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Wonderful. Well, again, greetings to the community and lovely to be with you. We're on the cusp of Shavuot. We've been in the period of the Sefirat HaOmer, which we'll count the last night of the Omer tonight, right? It's a period, it's a process from Pesach all the way to Shavuot. And Shavuot, we know, it's the festival of weeks. Ultimately, that was its origins. It was the weeks, and it was the harvest. Okay, it was the summer harvest between the two harvests, right? And so we also know one of the traditions is to bring bikurim, or fruit, right, to the shul, to eat nice fruit, and this first fruits, right, and this sort of idea of celebrating the world of the fruits. Okay, and so that is obviously a really important dimension of the festival. And we also know that it was linked in with the giving of the Torah, right? And Shavuot became the date in which we recognize that the Torah was given, and that leads to a whole lot of rituals, including the learning tomorrow night, which often many people go through the night and learn, but otherwise some other people just learn something extra in Jewish tradition. Now, one of the things about the giving of the Torah and our parsha tomorrow is the parsha of Bamidbar, and often said to be numbers, right? Because numbers, there's a census that's taken, right, in the of the children of Israel. Well, actually, the men are counted, right, which is problematic in and of itself. But there was a census taken of the men, right? And of course, we've just gone through a process of census in South Africa as well, right? And we and so this was something that was done even in those days, because in order to understand your community, understand the makeup of your community, it's vital to know who's in the community and the numbers of people and how to plan, etc., for those numbers. But the census takes place. Brian can tell us, what does Bamidbar mean? I can see you mouthing it. I know you are muted.
In the desert.
Ah, very good. There's that. Who was that?
Hilda.
Hilda, fantastic. Sorry, you went to my screen. And I think I saw Brian also get it right. In the desert, right? And the question for our discussion tonight, or the thoughts are, why was the Torah given in the desert? And it's a strange thing, right? We know that the Torah is often compared to water and fertility. Why was the Torah given in the desert, in the driest space, right, we can imagine? Okay, so that's the first question I want to ask you, and I want to hear some thoughts, and I'll give you some thoughts afterwards. But anyone have some ideas about why was the Torah given in the desert? Brian, I can see you talking. Do you want to unmute yourself?
It doesn't belong to anyone.
Ah, it didn't belong to anyone, right? So the
But
desert.
it's all everybody.
Okay, that's really interesting, right? And it actually links up with our tradition and some ideas in the tradition, right? That the desert in some ways doesn't belong. I mean, today we do have borders around the deserts, of course. So in a sense, technically countries do have sovereignty, but in a sense, the desert, certainly in those days, it was a space of no ownership, right? And that's really interesting, right? And so what can we derive from that, right? It's really interesting. It's an ownerless space, okay? And the one question is also perhaps an issue with which we driven home of ownership, right? Of the importance of owning a place. And the Torah was given in a non-owned space, okay?
And maybe, David, it was also given in a space of nothingness, of no distractions, a space that other people would conceive as harsh and unwelcoming. And yet it was in that very space of nothingness and so-called harshness that God revealed himself, or the Torah. So that's something, a lesson.
I like that, Rabbi Foreman. This is fantastic in the tradition of a great tradition, right, of thinking. That's excellent, that this is a desert is a harsh space. It's a space of nothingness, right? And then somehow this great moment happens in that space, right? And in a sense, it also transforms that space. But the nothingness itself creates, in a way, the opportunity for something to be built there. Okay, for something to be built there, and also for a lack of, as you said, many people go to the desert in a sense of spirituality. The desert as a space of being away from the general world, right? And so being open to something new coming into that space, and something new, and some, as we said, if the Torah is compared to water, the water coming into the desert, right? The need for sustenance in the desert. So beautiful. Anyone else want to have a say? you thought about why the Torah is given in the desert.
Well, realistically, that's where the people happened to be. They were in the desert, and in order to socially have some cohesion, I would say that Moses went up. I believe he went up with a few stone choppers, and he got them to chop the message that he felt was necessary for them to hold them together, with with the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, so
That's
that's
my idea. And then to prepare them for their eventual move into Canaan, into Palestine, into Israel.
Very good, Hilde. Since it's a transitional space, right? We can't really live forever in the desert, right? So the desert, if we think about it, the desert is between Egypt and the Promised Land, right? So the desert is a transitional space between, on the one hand, they had to, in a sense, also, right, remove themselves from, right? And this is, we know that the children of Israel struggle. We're going to see that in the book of Bamidbar. They struggle to remove themselves from Egypt and all the thinking and the ways of being in Egypt, right? They long, you'll see, I think next week or the following week, they long for the leeks and the fish of Egypt, right? You'll see them saying that, right? And the flesh pots of Egypt, right? So they needed to go from Egypt, and they needed to leave, and they needed to leave behind some of the oppressive elements, and they needed to get to the Promised Land, right? And so it's a holding space. It's a space of very little, but it's the space of very little in which you kind of forge the nation that is going to enter into the land. And you kind of hopefully also teach them the kinds of principles and the kinds of ways, in a sense of instruction, that they're going to go into the land, right? We're going to read about the spies, and the people are awed by these giants, right? It's going to come up in 2 weeks, right? In the land. And that's very much awed by, in Egypt, the power of others, right? And one of the critical things, and Joshua and Caleb say, right, we can overcome that, right? Because actually what we depend on is something different. We just depend on God's force, but ultimately that's about saying to us, it's not just about force and power that matters. It's about a kind of moral being and moral way of being, right? And so that is the principle that we come to learn. But we have to learn that, and we haven't perfectly learned, right? We still, as we say, having got power now in Israel, we see how much it's being abused, and the possibility of abuse of power is very, very significant, right? And so so these are all wonderful ideas, right? And I think and you kind of helping draw out. I don't need to do so much work, right? Because you, in a sense, helping draw out some of the main ideas, right? The desert as a kind of an ownerless space, right? So there's a very important dimension. It wasn't Egypt. No one controls, no one owns the message of Torah, right? And it's also it could be a universal idea as well, right? That it's not just, while we were given it as the Jewish people, it was also given to the world as such, in a space. It wasn't given in the Promised Land. It wasn't given in Israel. It was given in Mount Sinai, right? Another interesting idea, as we said, is that it's dry, and this was kind of Reva's point, and kind of harsh. And in that space, it also is a way of getting away from things, but it's also quite a humbling space, right? And this is an idea that I got from my Jewish learning, that actually one of the critical things, in order to make space for Torah, one needs, in a sense, to have a humble heart, to be able to listen, to be able to self-examine, to be able to gauge with the self. And that, in a sense, the trappings of wealth and stuff like that are not really good for that, right? In some ways, the moving away into a space of retreat, right, was a way of in a sense, moving to a state of lesser, of not being, of being more equal to others, and also a state of greater humility. And as we know, Moses, who was the leader, was one who was known as one of the greatest people who was a person of humility. So again, the importance of teaching a certain character in order to be able to hear the message of Torah.
David,
yes.
I'm interrupting you, but
Sure,
I'm
you
going to
can.
ask you if I can just show you this picture. I don't know if you're going to meet this picture.
Just put it more towards the camera, Hilda. We can't, just a bit higher because we can't hear it. Yeah, there we go. Yes, that looks wonderful.
Okay, that's in Saudi Arabia. Oh, sorry. Well, let me just block.
That's cool. We
Hang
can
on.
see it.
Saudi Arabia, near an
Yes.
oasis. It's 4,000 years, more than 4,000 years old, and it cut down the middle, and it looks exactly like magnified the two tablets.
Wow, incredible.
Look at that. It doesn't come out very clearly on the
Screen, but we can kind of see
screen.
that actually. We can
But
see that.
they say it just split by itself. They don't know why it split, but it looks like the two tablets of Moses.
Extraordinary.
It is, isn't it?
Thanks for sharing that, Hilda, with us. That's actually amazing. Actually, just on the geography, actually, Mount Sinai was not the tallest mountain. That's important, right? It was not given on Mount Everest. It was actually said to be one of the lower mountains. Again, signifying on the one hand that the Torah is close to people, it's not in the heavens, but also that it was a kind of humility again. It wasn't given to the mountain that is the highest. Okay? And then as Hilda said to us, we've got the important transitional message of forging a community from what we learned from being forged by suffering, but now trying to forge ourselves into something not based on suffering and being able to forge a common identity before we move into the promised land, right? And of course, that's a work in progress. And we can obviously see the desert as a metaphor. And I often use that as a metaphor. I've talked about that before for our own country, of how we are in a way, we put in a blueprint. We got the Torah when we created the Constitution, but we're still wandering in the desert, right? And we're 25 years in. There's only another 15 years for the 40-year mark. Are we going to reach a more promised land state? Well, we know when the Jews arrive, the promised land is not quite ideal yet. And perhaps we're still trying to find that. Certainly in Israel and Palestine, the situation at the moment is far from ideal. And we've got a long way to go to find the promised land there. And we've got a long way to go to find the promised land here. And we are still wandering around a bit in the desert and need to get a stronger solidity to our moral backbone in our country. We just had today, some of you will have heard the crime statistics released, how absolutely terrible the increase in crime. Around 6,000 people were murdered in 3 months, right? Don't want to scare anyone, but it is shocking. That's about 24,000 people a year being lost from murder. And that is the sign of a society that has, it's got a deep issues morally. And we are in that space where we have to, in a sense, very much school people in what is right and wrong, where the Constitution and the rights and the moral ethical code need to be strongly imprinted, so that the notion of murdering or stealing, or raping is not something that even crosses people's mind. But we are far from there, and we have a long way to go. And so I suppose that's the Bamidbar is very relevant for us then in South Africa, in the state of Israel, which has not been able to reach peace, and has seen an incredible rise of extremism amongst the Jewish population, as some of you will have seen the terrible scenes on Jerusalem Day. And we need to stand up against that extremism, because it's a deep danger for the future of Israel and the future of living in a just way. And we obviously, these are only 2 places. We know Ukraine, we know about Myanmar, we know about Ethiopia. There are just so many places that are on that journey and not even starting the journey.
And may I add to that, in terms of the entire world, with the forces of evil, you can add them up, China, Russia, North Korea, etc. So the entire world, tragically at the moment, is in the desert. And
I
it's
think
really-
that's true, Reba. I think many places we seem to have regressed quite a bit
yes,
the last
absolutely.
while during COVID-19. And there seems to be greater oppressive forces, and even in many democracies, there are negative things coming up and forces. And so we need to reconnect with and we should stand up for it. In my view is that in the time where people stop believing in the right thing, you need to stand up even stronger for the right thing, rather than give in and say, well, okay, now we need to change our morals, right? It's actually the time. I've said this for a long time, right? With peace in Israel and Palestine, people say, oh, well, people are moving to the right. We don't believe in peace. There's, Israel's now got military superiority. And I say, no, that's exactly the time when we need to hold on for a just solution, and one that can realize the rights of both peoples that live in that space. And the same thing applies across the world as well. As Reva said, that we need to hold on stronger in the face of an onslaught on human rights and on animals and others, we need to stand up even stronger for those principles that are right and good. And that is what we're required to do. Ultimately, we're required to swim against the tide in Jewish tradition, if necessary, and fight, as many Jewish activists in South Africa did, against when apartheid existed. And similarly, we have similar challenges today, although of a different nature. Good. So thank you very much, everyone. And I hope you're going to have an enjoyable and learning Shavuot. Of course, even if you're not able to join a program, take something Jewish and read it. You could read online if you want to tomorrow night. Just learn something. There will be, I don't know if Temple Israel has a program tomorrow night of learning. Does it, Reva?
Actually, tomorrow morning, we're all in shul, those of us who can get to shul physically, and Baruch Hashem, we'll be hybrid, of course, and streaming, and Leo will lead us in a Shavuot program. And then tomorrow evening, or is it Sunday, Jacob? We've been invited, and I'm sure Jacob will be sending everyone the link to join in a large World Union of Progressive Shavuot study program. So there'll be a lot on Zoom, starting with us pre-Shavuot, really tomorrow morning, probably going into the evening, and certainly on Sunday, and we'll be sending out all the links.
Yes, and those of you who want to join in other shuls, I'm not sure what Beit David has. I know Beit Emmanuel has a program tomorrow night. Those people who want to
Beit
join.
Emmanuel has a program on Sunday morning for us.
No, tomorrow night as
Is
well.
It tomorrow night? Marion?
People who want to join, there will be.
Oh, I see.
There will be a program as well, and other things. I think it's going to be about art and human rights or something like that. So tomorrow night.
Okay, thank you.
Manuel has got a program tomorrow night as well as Sunday morning.
There you go, both, David. We're inundated.
You've got a lot of options. Wonderful. So let's go on. We're going to go to the last night of the Omer. So Jacob, I think it's page 570. Let's have a look there. Page 570. Okay. Hireni muchanu muzuman lekayem atzvat aseh shel sfirat haomer. I'm going to add in a few things here. Kamoshe katuv b'Torah utzvatim lachem u'mochurat haShabbat miyom aviachem el omer hatnufa sheva shabbatot timotiena ad mimochurat haShabbat hashvit tisbru chamishim yom. This is the blessing for the Omer. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Hayom tish'a v'arba'im yom shehem shiva'a shavuot la'omer. This is the 49th day, making 7 weeks of the Omer. Okay, so that's the end of the Omer period. Okay, and tomorrow night is Shavuot, the 50th day. Okay, it's from Pesach, second night. So let's stand up for Aleinu. Page 586. Aleinu l'shaveach le'adoch u'nakol la'tei kula liyotzeh bereshit. שהוא עשה גויים רבים מכולם חפצים להבחין בדרכיו ונתן לגרום אחד שגילה לנו את משפטיו ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומשה ויקראו בשמיים העל שכינת זו בגובה מרומי היא הוא אלוהינו אין עוד מלכנו אפס ולתום ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום אשר אותה אל לבביך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד על כן נקבל לך אדוני אלינו להיות מרב תפארתך להביא גלים לארץ ועלים קורות שקראתו ותזכן עולם במלכות שדי בכל בני בשר יקראו בשמך להפנות לך כל יושבי הארץ יכירו וידעו כל יושבי תבל כי לך תקרא כל ברך תשבע כל לשון לפניך אדוני אלוהינו יכרעו ויפולו ולכבוד שמך יקר ייתנו ויקבלו כולם את עול מלכותך ותמלוך עליהם מהרה לעולם ועד כי המלכות שלך היא ולמעט תמלוך ובעוד ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Okay, we come to that point in our service where we are going to remember those who've left us at this time in the year and also more recently, and I invite Marion to read out the list of the names of people in the community who we're remembering for your site, and then anyone else who's remembering anyone else.
Thank you, David. Tonight, Temple Israel is remembering Dr. Simon Levine, husband of Nali Levine, and Professor Robin Green, pediatric pulmonologist. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else we're remembering? Anyone you can unmute?
David, just all those who have lost their lives in this horrific invasion and war against Ukraine by Russia.
Absolutely. I agree, Reba. There's so much unnecessary loss of life. It is absolutely, absolutely horrific. Okay, and so for
murder
all
of the patients in the hospital in America.
Sorry, in their school in America, is that
school?
Yeah.
In the hospital was attacked this morning, and a couple of people were shot to death. A couple of the patients.
I think the surgeon was shot to death. What I saw on Facebook.
Some of the patients and a lot of people were injured.
Thank you very much. That we can keep those people in mind, and also, as you said, the young children who were shot last week as well. Absolutely horrors around our world. We remember them and all those who don't have anyone to say Kaddish for them. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah. Galmad divrach yivutev v'yamlich malchuteh v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael v'agalah v'zman kariv imru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Barach L'olam Ulomel Maya Yiparach V'ishtabach V'pa'ar V'tormam V'itnaseh V'tadar V'taleh V'talal Shmei L'kudsha Brichu Leila Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbachata V'nechamata Damiran V'alma V'imru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shmaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Amen. Oseh Shalom V'imromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'al Kol Ha'olam V'imru. Amen. Okay, that comes nearly to the end of our service where we're going to do our Dor Olam. I don't know if there are any announcements. Over to Reba.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Well, may I start now quickly before we lose any of our people rushing off to Shabbat dinners, etc., to say thank you so much. You know, you bring such a the word isn't even only traditional. It's like a joy. It's a combination of traditional, Hasidic, progressive, and you know that is really the purpose of our Jewish existence, is to create unity between the different streams by acknowledging, as David does in his prayers, that it comes from everywhere, and also, David, perhaps to bring that unity between the religions and between the worlds and between the nations. So really, you always bring such a wonderful dimension. So please make another date with us soon, and thank you so much. And to our wonderful congregants and friends and everyone who are with us this evening, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to say again, if you can possibly make it, even by helicopter, to Temple Israel Hillbrow tomorrow, we will be there. And you know, it's just so extraordinary to feel that those walls and that energy, and even Rabbi Weiler and Super and all of them still with us. So if you can make it, do. Otherwise, please on Zoom. And then, as David said, we'll be sending you a list of various options that we can join by Zoom, both here and in Israel and throughout the world, because tomorrow evening especially should be a night of studying and questioning and being together, which Baruch Hashem, we as modern Jews know or believe that Hashem has given the digital knowledge to us long before this adversity, so that we would be prepared in the adversity to be able to still be together, to worship, and as David said, to look for something extraordinary that we can find in the middle of this desert that the entire world is in now. So please, if you can, that's tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, we'll be making announcements of all the various options you have to study Torah, to discuss from hybrid, so you'll all be able to know what to choose for Saturday night going straight through. And I know there are quite a lot of options, David, on Sunday as well. We start with Beit Emmanuel and we go on and on and on. So it just looks that in this desert that we're in, that Hashem has provided us with more ability than ever before to come together and to study Torah. And as we know, that is equal to any path of peace in the world. So thank you, and Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.
Thank you, Riva. Fantastic. And let's us conclude with Adon Olam. We'll do a jovial one for festive season. Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, B'terem Kol Yitzini Ra Adon Olam, Li'ed Nasa, B'chefetzo Kol, Azai V'lech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, B'terem Kol Yitzini Ra, Li'ed Nasa. בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, ויחדי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך תורה אדון עולם, והוא היה, והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה אדון עולם, אדון עולם, אדון עולם, השם הלך, בטרם כל, יצא נברא להתנשא. בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, והוא אחד, יהיה שני, לים שלו ליחברה אדון עולם, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, בלא העוז ועם ישראל, אדון עולם, אדון עולם, אדון עולם, השם הלך, בטרם כל, יצא נברא להתנשא. בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, בצורכם לי ביצר אדון עולם, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנקוסי ביום יקרא אדון עולם, אדון עולם, אדון עולם, השם הלך, בטרם כל, יצא נברא להתנשא. בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, ביעדו אפקיד רוחי, בעת ישן ואירה אדון עולם, ועם רוחי גבייתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא אדון עולם, אדון עולם, אדון עולם, השם הלך, בטרם כל, זה נברא להתנשא. בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, אדון עולם. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. David, I'm sure people would love to open their mics and just say a few words.
Okay, excellent. Welcome, everyone. And those of you who can stay with us, let's see you all. I'm going to put you in gallery view. And let's say Shabbat Shalom to you. Brian, Shabbat Shalom. How are you? You're on mute,
Mics,
Brian.
all open your mics, please.
Shabbat Shalom, David, and everybody. It's nice to see you again.
David, you know everyone with us here this evening.
Not
So-
everyone, but many people. So thank you, Melvin. I heard Melvin there. Greetings to you. Lovely to hear from you.
Melvin,
Brian,
you know, yes.
Brian was next. Brian.
Yeah.
Sameach, Shabbat Shalom to
Shabbat
everyone.
All right. Who was that?
Oh, that was me. Shabbat
Okay,
shalom.
so David, I don't know if
Shalom.
you know Torah. He's the most wonderful person walking the path of Judaism with us right now.
Excellent, Torah. Welcome. Lovely to meet you. I think we met once.
And so is John Nichols, another extraordinary mind.
Excellent, John. Lovely to see you.
And Solo, you know. From sure.
Solo, I don't know if we met.
Gosh,
Yes, yes, David.
been with us a
Yeah,
long time.
I wish Ag Sameach to everybody and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Okay,
shalom.
and quickly, and Lisa, have you met Lisa Solomon? Also walking the path of Judaism. Lisa, I don't know if you can put your camera on. Okay, say something.
Lisa, I don't think can at the moment.
No, I don't think you've met.
There's Galaxy's J7 Prime. I don't know who that is. Galaxy J7 Prime.
Is that not Ruth Levison, Jacob?
That
It's
Ruth.
not Ruth, it's the friend of yours with them. She joins us every now and again.
Who? Who was that?
Welcome to greet us.
The lady that joins us every now and again, I think it's Michelle Friedman.
Oh, yes, there is a wonderful person who joins us every now and again. And also, do you know Graham Oliver?
Graham, hello, greetings.
Do you remember his grandma? What was her name? Tell us. Pearl Tates. Does that ring a bell, David?
Oh, I think I know Pearl. Pearl
Of
from Beit Emmanuel.
Yeah, then she joined us. And Graham is her grandson.
Oh, fantastic.
And we found each other again. I'm so thrilled he's back. Because Pearl is now, where is she now, in Pretoria or Joburg, Graham? Mike, can't hear.
It's not working.
I'm not sure whether she's at our parents' home here, but I know she's in one of those facilities, either here or Pretoria. Pretoria. Thanks, Jacob. And we've got her grandson back. So, you know, I'm really excited, David, because of these very challenging circumstances. Also, thanks to incredible Torah scholars like you joining us, and rabbis and everyone. We somehow, our community is firm and may even have grown by one or two. Lisa, are you available now?
Fantastic. Uta, greetings.
Oh, Uta, you know, don't you? From
Thank you, David, for a lovely sermon and service. It was so impressive. Thank you.
Thank you, Uta. Lovely to see you again. Hilda, lovely to see you as well. Thank you for the nice message.
Thank you.
Be well. That's good. And
there's Lisa now.
And Brian, you didn't.
Lisa says she's got a problem with the Wi-Fi.
With the Wi-Fi.
Never mind, David. When is our next date? And then you can meet.
Okay, we'll see. Probably in July, Sam.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Great, everyone. Take care. Lots of love.
David, my love to Ruthie, please.
Thank you, and all the best to the community. Take care. And Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Chag Sameach.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Shabbat Shalom.
Riva, I actually met somebody that knew you or knows you. You know the person's mother, Andrew Appleton.
Yes.
His mother stayed across from the shul, apparently. I went to give him a quotation this week for security.
Yes, and I'm sure his mother, Jacob, his mom then moved to Temple Emmanuel when they when we stopped the sale. Am I right? Ellen Appleton.
I think he went to Beit David, yes. And then he went to the other shul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Small world.
It's a very small world, but please give him my love and say I remember Ellen with great warmth. She was really an incredible person and did a lot for our movement.
Shame, yes, I'll do so.
Thank you. Right, folks.
Sorry, Riva, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
There, I fixed it. It's another computer.
You know, I can't tell you how, doesn't it look beautiful, John? I don't know how he did it with that muck and do it behind. You know, I'm still trying to
that's
work out
beautiful.
how to do this
I'm
on mine.
envious. It looks so smart.
Yeah, I'm
Actually, you
jealous.
must take a photo and put it on your profile. I mean, that is just awesome.
I did.
Love
If
to
I did
have a
my,
mural like that.
if I turn off my camera, should do that.
That's beautiful. I'd like to have a mural like that.
It's under your settings. You see, if you go to, if you go into your Zoom account.
Yes.
If you go
Does that
into
include on a laptop that's still on Microsoft 7? I doubt it.
It needs a
Yeah,
the computer needs a really good graphics card, because otherwise it's like if I move too quickly, then it casts a shadow. But if I take it off, then like John, for example, or even Brian, if you wave or whatever the case is, you haven't got any shadow behind the it's like a backdrop.
Oh, like mine.
Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
if somebody walks behind me, nobody's going to see.
You see, my
That's why sometimes.
camera on this,
I see how
my
interesting.
computer
Gee whiz.
still runs on paraffin.
Video settings.
My
You click on-
computer,
Sorry, say that again, John.
oh, no. So my computer still runs on paraffin.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
I think mine's just following you. I'm not sure what came just after paraffin, but before electricity.
Candle wax.
Yeah.
Anything I
Always
can
saying,
see,
get a new computer, get a new computer.
it says choose
Anyway,
virtual
thanks,
background. That's all I can see.
John.
I'm looking forward to another Shabbat as we did on Pesach, where we can all be together around a table, actually talking and laughing and joking with each
That
other.
was actually very nice.
Yeah. You know,
John.
what they said, shul is not only a religion, it's to get us together. It's to get people together. And this is why in our religion, you have to have 10 people to pray. Because it's B'nai Beit Knesset does not mean a synagogue, it means a meeting place. So it was so lovely, and Baruch Hashem will be able to.
But that's fine, because that will be easy, because I suffer from multiple personality disorder, so I've got a bunch of people inside my head.
I know, I empathize. I know exactly what you mean. I'm fighting with Riva Foreman all the time. Shabbat Shalom, my darling. See you either in situ tomorrow or on Zoom tomorrow morning. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Shabbat Shalom.